Hey everyone, it's Hollie Hancock again here with part two of the safeTALK, summary training that I went to last weekend. And like I said before, I feel it's important to get this information out and hopefully raise awareness as to some of the signs that we might be looking for when working with people who might be at risk for suicide, working with teens and other people who might be at a higher risk category for suicide, and being more aware as the safeTALK training presents it as being a alert helper. And that to me means just having information and knowledge that's readily accessible for you to respond in a way that could potentially save a life. So again, my name is Hollie Hancock. I'm a clinical mental health counselor here in Salt Lake City, Utah. I have a private practice in Sandy, and the issue of suicide, especially LGBT suicide, that seems to be at an all-time high and unfortunately only climbing in this community. I feel it is necessary and my duty, to be honest, to share some of these alert helper tips to make sure that even if we have one piece of equipment or tool in our tool belt, that we can utilize that and help those in our community. So I wanted to share one of the stories that the trainer shared on Friday at the training, and that was that 6+ years ago there was a unfortunate event that happened, actually a number of unfortunate events, and that was that in the Alpine School District there was, and I hope I'm getting the numbers correct, and if I'm not and someone has the accurate information, please feel free to comment or post or reach out to me. But there was something like 6 suicides at Alpine High School, and I believe it was in a period of about 2 years, and that's definitely crisis level. There was as recently as this spring, there were 2 suicides at Brighton High School just before school let out that were a week apart to the day. And during that same week period, another teen student also committed suicide in West Valley City. So it's not, I don't know how to put it, so I'm just gonna move on. It's a crisis. We're at a crisis level, bottom line. One of the stories that she told about this experience is that she had gone into the school district, into the office, when these numbers were just climbing and climbing, and phones were ringing off the hook this particular day, and the secretaries and the admin assistants and anyone in the office just looked like they were running or had already been run ragged, and it was before first period of that day of school. And she looked at one of the secretaries whom she knew and said, "It's okay, it's cool, I know what's going on, I'll wait, not a problem." And as she sort of stepped back from the desk and looked around the office, there was a kid sitting in a chair off to her right. And she said this kid was about 250 pounds and was just sobbing. And this was in a junior high, mind you. And the child was just sobbing. And went over, and one of the kids that had committed suicide was someone who probably didn't make a lot of waves, who was sort of that on the sidelines sort of person. And we're going to talk about maybe some of those things that might have been done or might have been seen to perhaps have prevented this particular child's death. Anyway, 250-pound young person sitting in the office, and Taryn, who was the trainer, went over and said, "What's going on? What, I know this hurts. I know this hurts." And she put her arms around him and hugged him, and as he sobbed into her chest, he said, "Who's gonna ride and sit with me on the bus. And while the child who unfortunately died may have seemed to have not made an impact in the school or in the social environment in the school, he made an impact to that other child, that other young man who was a friend to him, who he considered a friend. And in whatever way, the young man who passed was a support system for the child sitting in the office just sobbing and experiencing what can only be described likely as heart-wrenching and the first major loss of someone that he was close to in his life. So when we hear things from individuals like, no one sees me, or I feel alone, those are some of the things that people might say, that we might hear, that would tip us off to perhaps ask the question, are you thinking of harming yourself? Actually, we don't want to say harm. We want to say the words, unfortunately, are you thinking of committing suicide? Are you thinking of killing yourself? That direct question is key, is critical, so that we're not inferring or implying harm, but that it is critical and has reached the level of serious action and intervention needs to be had. So I just want to share with you a couple of those items that we might hear about people saying, and these are some of the things that we might hear from our loved ones or those around us. Like I said, I'm feeling alone. I'm feeling like I don't fit in. There's no point of me being here. I'm a burden. I'm worthless. I have no purpose here. I'm not sure if I just said that, but no purpose, and that they're trying to escape. Now, I'm not saying that you're going to hear those words specifically and every time from every person who might be at risk. So please use your imagination and sort of do some word association with the words that I've given you here to listen more carefully and hear what people are saying with the words that they choose. There's one final thing that I'd like to share with you, and that is something that I generally ask the folks that I work with, and I say it sort of tongue-in-cheek when I say it, but I'm actually very serious. And a lot of times when I ask folks, even just friends in general, like, how are you doing? How are things going? You get the response, I'm fine. And to me, when I hear that, I don't hear the Aerosmith definition of fine, although sometimes I do. But the fine that I'm referring to and that I hear often, initially, even by the tone of someone's voice or by their body language, to me, when someone says they're fine, I hear, I'm feeling insecure, and I'm needing encouragement. And so a lot of times when folks come to me and say, oh yeah, I'm fine, I will follow up with, is that the truth, or what sounds good? And I usually get wry smiles or some shoulder shrugs or something like that. But to me, I know that we need to go further into what fine means for that person. And I would encourage you, maybe not in the way that I do it, but I'd encourage you to really explore some of those actions or words that you get those pat answers, but you're sensing or feeling that something isn't fine with that person. And in the next segment, in the next video, in a couple of days or so, I want to talk about those things that we sense in others when they might be at risk and in trouble. So I know this means seem counterintuitive to talk about suicide when there have been so many suicides of late, but again, this training explained that when there is a crisis of suicide and numbers are increasing in a short period of time, that is when we need to talk about suicide. That is when we need to be hypervigilant and have those discussions with our loved ones and make sure that we have a safety plan. And maybe next time we will talk about safety plans and the benefit and also uselessness of a safety plan, but definitely something that needs to be discussed. And like I said, in the next video or perhaps the following that, we'll talk about safety plans and what is a good way to approach creating those. So again, I'm Hollie Hancock, clinical mental health counselor in Utah. Once again, I'd like to end with a recognition and send my love out to some really good friends of mine, and end with saying, hashtag I choose love. Hashtag I choose love. Until next time, be good to yourself and be good to others. Take care.